from tragedy to tech, the human who built her a cyber leg. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her face against the cold observation window of the Meridian Research Station, watching the alien transport ship dock with practiced precision. The vessel's sleek design reminded her of a crystalline flower, all curves and translucent panels that caught the light of distant stars. Inside that ship was her new research partner, someone she had only communicated with through holographic transmissions for the past 6 months. The airlock hissed open, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. Zara 9 emerged with fluid grace, her 6 limbs moving in perfect coordination. The Catherian's exoskeleton gleamed like polished obsidian, and her large compound eyes reflected the station's artificial lighting in rainbow patterns. She stood nearly 8 feet tall, her mantis-like head tilting curiously as she observed her new surroundings. Elena had studied Catherian physiology extensively, but seeing one in person was entirely different. The alien's movements were mesmerizing, each step calculated and purposeful. Elena watched as Zara 9's middle pair of arms gestured elegantly while she spoke with the station commander, her translator device converting her musical clicks and chirps into standard galactic common. "Dr. Vasquez?" The station commander's voice crackled through Elena's communicator. "Your research partner has arrived. She's asking to meet you immediately." Elena smoothed her lab coat and hurried to the main receiving area. As she rounded the corner, she came face to face with Zara 9. The Catherian's compound eyes focused on her with startling intensity, and Elena felt a moment of overwhelming inadequacy. Here was a being from a civilization that had mastered biotechnology while humans were still discovering fire. "Dr. Elena Vasquez," Zara 9 spoke, her voice melodious even through the translation device. "I have studied your work on neural interface technology. Your research papers on synthetic nerve integration are quite remarkable for a human." Elena bristled slightly at the qualifier, but maintained her professional composure. "Thank you, Zara 9. I've been equally impressed by Catherian advances in biological regeneration. Your people's ability to regrow entire limbs is extraordinary." "Indeed, though we have never needed to interface organic tissue with mechanical components as your species does." Zara 9's head tilted in what Elena had learned was a gesture of curiosity. "Your prosthetics research intrigues me. Most civilized species simply regrow damaged body parts." The comment stung more than Elena cared to admit. She had dedicated her life to helping amputees and those with paralysis, developing neural interfaces that could control artificial limbs with thought alone. To have her life's work dismissed as primitive was painful, even if unintentionally so. "Perhaps," Elena said carefully, "but our approach has its own merits. Mechanical augmentation can sometimes exceed biological limitations." Zara 9 made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "How charmingly optimistic. I suppose every species must work within their biological constraints." Over the following weeks, Elena and Zara 9 collaborated on their joint research project, studying the effects of prolonged space travel on various species' neurological systems. The Catherian was brilliant, her insights into biological systems far beyond anything Elena had encountered. Yet there remained an underlying condescension in their interactions, a subtle reminder that humans were considered the newcomers to galactic civilization. Elena tried to focus on the work, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was viewed as a curiosity rather than an equal partner. During their daily research sessions, Zara 9 would often comment on human limitations with what seemed like genuine puzzlement rather than malice, as if she couldn't understand why evolution had been so unkind to Elena's species. "Your reaction times are quite slow," Zara 9 observed one morning, as they calibrated neural response equipment. "And your sensory range is remarkably limited. How do humans compensate for such deficiencies?" "We adapt," Elena replied tersely, focusing on her calculations. We use tools, technology, cooperation. We find ways to overcome our limitations. How resourceful, Zara 9 clicked approvingly. Like insects building elaborate hives to compensate for individual weakness. Elena's hands stilled on her tablet. The comparison to insects was probably not intended as an insult in Cytherian culture, but it rankled nonetheless. She was about to respond when an emergency alarm began blaring throughout the station. "All personnel to emergency stations," the intercom crackled. "Meteor storm approaching. This is not a drill." Elena had been through meteor storm protocols before, but this one felt different. The station shuddered violently as debris impacted the outer hull and the lights flickered ominously. She moved quickly toward the emergency shelter, assuming Zara 9 was following her lead. The corridor lurched suddenly, throwing Elena against the wall. Behind her, she heard a sound that made her blood freeze, a sharp crack followed by a keening wail of pain that no translator could disguise. She spun around to see Zara 9 pinned beneath a collapsed support beam, her lower left leg trapped at an impossible angle. "Zara!" Elena rushed to her partner's side, her medical training overriding everything else. The Cytherian's leg was clearly broken, the exoskeleton cracked and leaking pale blue fluid that Elena recognized as alien blood. "I cannot move," Zara 9 gasped, her usual composure shattered. "The beam is too heavy and my leg, I think it is severely damaged." Elena assessed the situation quickly. The beam was indeed too heavy for her to lift alone, but she could see that Zara 9's leg was not just broken, it was crushed beyond repair. Even with Cytherian regenerative abilities, this kind of damage would likely require amputation and regrowth, a process that could take months. "Help is coming?" Elena assured her, though she wasn't entirely certain. The station's emergency teams would be dealing with multiple crises right now. "Just stay calm. We'll get you out of here." Zara 9's compound eyes fixed on Elena with desperate intensity. "In my culture, to lose a limb is to lose status, to become incomplete. The regeneration process. I would be unable to continue my research for at least a full cycle. My position, my standing in the scientific community." Elena understood immediately. For a species that prized biological perfection, even temporary disability would be devastating. She looked at the trapped leg again, then at Zara 9's anguished face, and made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "What if there was another way?" Elena asked quietly. "What if you didn't have to wait for regeneration?" Zara 9's head turned toward her with painful effort. "What do you mean?" "My research. Neural interfaces with mechanical prosthetics. I could build you a cybernetic leg that would function immediately. You wouldn't lose your mobility or your research time." "A mechanical limb?" Zara 9's voice carried a mixture of revulsion and desperate hope. "But that would make me part machine. No Cytherian has ever chosen artificial augmentation over natural regeneration." "Maybe it's time for a first," Elena said firmly. "Trust me. Trust human ingenuity. I can make you whole again, not just whole, but better." The station shuddered again, and Zara 9 winced in pain. After a long moment, her compound eyes met Elena's with unwavering focus. "If you can truly do this thing," she said softly, "then perhaps I have underestimated human capabilities." Elena smiled grimly as she heard rescue teams approaching. "You have no idea what humans can accomplish when we put our minds to it. We may not be able to regrow limbs, but we've gotten very good at building better ones." As the rescue team worked to free Zara 9 from the debris, Elena was already mentally designing the most advanced cybernetic limb ever created. She would show the galaxy exactly what human innovation could achieve. This wouldn't just be a prosthetic. It would be a masterpiece that proved humanity belonged among the stars as equals, not curiosities. From tragedy to tech, the human who built her a cyber leg. The medical bay hummed with activity as Elena worked tirelessly beside the Cytherian medical team. Zara 9 lay unconscious on the surgical table, her damaged leg having been amputated just below what humans would call the knee joint. The Cytherian surgeons had performed the procedure with clinical efficiency, but Elena could see the disapproval in their movements. To them, this was a tragic mutilation rather than a necessary medical intervention. "The amputation is complete," Dr. Varix 4 announced, his mandibles clicking with what Elena had learned indicated distress. "The patient will require immediate placement in a regeneration pod. The regrowth process will take approximately 4 standard months." "No," Elena said firmly, causing every Cytherian head to turn toward her. "We're going with the cybernetic option." Dr. Varix 4's compound eyes reflected confusion. "Human, you cannot be serious. No Cytherian has ever chosen mechanical augmentation over natural healing. It is unthinkable." "Zara 9 made her choice before the surgery," Elena replied, pulling up the holographic consent forms. "She signed the authorization herself." The lead surgeon examined the documents with obvious distaste. "This is highly irregular. Our people will not understand. She will be viewed as contaminated." Elena's jaw tightened. "She'll be viewed as pioneering, as the first of her kind to embrace a technology that could revolutionize mobility for every species in the galaxy." Over the next 72 hours, Elena barely slept. She threw herself into designing and fabricating the most advanced cybernetic limb ever created, combining human ingenuity with materials and technologies from across the galaxy. The fabrication lab became her second home, filled with the whir of 3D printers and the hiss of molecular assemblers. The leg itself was a marvel of engineering. Elena used a titanium carbide composite frame that was stronger than bone but weighs significantly less. The joint mechanisms incorporated self-lubricating micro-bearings that would function smoothly for decades. But the real innovation was in the neural interface system. Elena had developed a revolutionary new approach to connecting organic nervous systems with cybernetic components. Instead of the crude electrical interfaces typically used in human prosthetics, she created a biosynthetic neural bridge that could interpret the complex chemical signals used by Cytherian nervous systems. The interface would learn and adapt, becoming more responsive over time. The power system was equally groundbreaking. Elena integrated microfusion cells that could run for years without replacement, supplemented by kinetic energy collectors that would recharge the system with every movement. She even included redundant backup systems that could keep the limb functional even under extreme conditions. But Elena's masterpiece was the sensory feedback array. Using quantum entanglement principles, she created artificial nerve endings that could transmit not just pressure and temperature, but texture, vibration, and even chemical composition. The artificial leg would provide sensory input that exceeded the capabilities of the original biological limb. "The fabrication is complete," Elena announced to the assembled medical team as she wheeled the cybernetic leg into the surgical suite. The device gleamed under the medical lights, its surface covered with intricate patterns of sensors and neural interfaces. Dr. Varix 4 examined the prosthetic with obvious skepticism. "It appears crude compared to our biological engineering. How can you be certain it will integrate properly with Cytherian physiology?" Elena's smile was confident despite her exhaustion. "Because I've spent the last 3 days mapping every neural pathway, every chemical signal, every biological process involved in Cytherian locomotion. This isn't just a mechanical replacement. It's an evolutionary improvement." The surgical attachment process took 14 hours. Elena worked alongside the Cytherian medical team, carefully connecting each neural interface point while monitoring Zara 9's biological responses. The quantum neural bridges had to be calibrated precisely to match the specific chemical signatures of Zara 9's nervous system. Neural integration at 60%, Elena reported, watching the readouts carefully. 70%, 80%. Dr. Varix 4 observed the monitors with growing amazement. The response rate is extraordinary. Her nervous system is adapting to the artificial components faster than we anticipated. Human technology, Elena said with quiet pride. Designed specifically for Catherian biology. The best of both our civilizations combined. When Zara 9 finally awakened, Elena was sitting beside her bed, monitoring the integration process. The Catherian's compound eyes focused slowly, then moved down to examine her new limb. The cybernetic leg was seamlessly integrated with her organic body, the biosynthetic skin graft matching her natural exoskeleton perfectly. "Can you feel this?" Elena asked, gently touching various points along the artificial limb. Zara 9's response was a sharp intake of breath. "Yes, I can feel everything. The pressure, the temperature, even the texture of your skin through my artificial sensors. How is this possible?" "Quantum entanglement neural networks," Elena explained, unable to hide her excitement. "The artificial nerve endings don't just send signals, they create genuine sensory experiences. Can you try to move it?" Zara 9 concentrated, and the cybernetic leg responded instantly. The joints moved with fluid grace, the artificial muscles contracting and relaxing in perfect harmony with her biological movements. She flexed the foot, rotated the ankle, bent the knee. Every motion was natural and precise. "It feels stronger than my original leg," Zara 9 said with wonder. "More responsive. I can sense vibrations through the floor that I never noticed before." Elena nodded enthusiastically. "The sensory array is more sensitive than biological nerve endings, and the strength enhancement is considerable. That leg can generate about 3 times the force of your original limb." 3 times? Zara 9 sat up carefully, then slowly stood. Her first steps were tentative, but within minutes she was walking with perfect balance and coordination. "This is remarkable. I feel no pain, no weakness, no limitation at all." Dr. Varix 4 and the other Catherian medical staff watched in stunned silence as Zara 9 not only walked but began performing complex movements that would have challenged even an uninjured Catherian. The cybernetic leg responded flawlessly to every command, its movements perfectly synchronized with her biological limbs. "Run a full diagnostic," Elena instructed the monitoring equipment. The results exceeded even her optimistic projections. Neural integration was at 97%. Response time was actually faster than biological reflexes, and the power systems were functioning at peak efficiency. "I do not understand," Dr. Varix 4 admitted. "How did you achieve such perfect integration in such a short time? Our own regeneration technology takes months to achieve similar results." Elena's expression grew serious. "Because humans have spent centuries learning to overcome our limitations. We don't have your regenerative abilities, so we've had to become experts at replacement and augmentation. This technology represents thousands of years of human innovation in medicine, engineering, and biointegration." Zara 9 was now performing acrobatic movements that would have been impossible with her original leg. The cybernetic limb's enhanced strength and responsiveness allowed her to leap higher, balance more precisely, and move with unprecedented agility. "I feel as though I have been upgraded," Zara 9 said, her voice filled with awe. "This is not just a replacement. It is an improvement upon my original design." Elena smiled proudly. That was the goal. Humans may not be the most advanced species in the galaxy, but we've learned to make the most of what we have, and sometimes that means becoming more than what we started as. Word of the successful procedure spread quickly throughout the station and beyond. Scientists from a dozen species requested permission to observe and study the cybernetic integration. But Elena wasn't finished yet. She had proven that human technology could match and exceed biological alternatives, but she wanted to demonstrate something even more significant. Over the following weeks, Elena continued to refine and upgrade Zara 9's cybernetic leg. She added new capabilities, enhanced shock absorption for high-impact activities, integrated scanning equipment for geological surveys, even a small fabricator that could produce basic tools and materials. Each upgrade teaches us more about the possibilities, Elena explained to the growing audience of alien scientists who had come to observe. This isn't just about replacing lost function. It's about transcending original limitations. Zara 9 became a willing test subject and enthusiastic advocate for the technology. Her research productivity actually increased following the surgery, as the enhanced capabilities of her cybernetic leg allowed her to access previously dangerous research sites and perform more complex experimental procedures. "I have become a bridge between two worlds," Zara 9 told Elena one evening as they worked late in the laboratory. "Part biological, part technological. I am discovering capabilities I never knew I wanted." Elena looked up from her latest design schematics. "And you're showing the galaxy that human innovation isn't inferior to biological perfection. It's simply a different path to the same goal." The implications were staggering. If cybernetic augmentation could enhance rather than simply replace biological function, then every species in the galaxy could benefit from human technological expertise. Elena realized she wasn't just building a prosthetic leg, she was pioneering a new form of evolution that combined the best aspects of biology and technology. From tragedy to tech, the human who built her a cyber leg. 3 months after the surgery, the Galactic Scientific Council convened its annual symposium on Meridian Station. Representatives from 47 different species had gathered to share research and discuss technological advances, but this year, all attention was focused on one particular presentation. Elena stood before the assembled delegates, her heart racing as she looked out at the sea of alien faces. Crystalline ethereals shimmered in the artificial light, while massive Goliath engineers adjusted their translation devices with mechanical precision. Near the front, she spotted several Cytherian scientists who had made the journey specifically to witness this presentation. "Honored delegates," Elena began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I am here to present research that challenges our fundamental assumptions about biological limitations and technological augmentation." She activated the holographic display, showing detailed schematics of Zara 9's cybernetic leg. Murmurs rippled through the audience as they examined the complex integration of organic and mechanical components. "For too long, we have viewed prosthetics as crude replacements for lost function. But what if augmentation could enhance rather than simply restore? What if the merger of biology and technology could create capabilities that exceed natural evolution?" The audience fell silent as Zara 9 entered the presentation area. She moved with fluid grace, her cybernetic leg completely indistinguishable from her biological limbs in terms of coordination and naturalness. But as she began to demonstrate the enhanced capabilities, gasps of amazement echoed throughout the chamber. Zara 9 leaped vertically nearly 12 feet, her cybernetic leg absorbing the impact of landing without any strain on her biological joints. She performed complex acrobatic maneuvers that would have been impossible even for an uninjured Cytherian. Most impressively, she activated the integrated scanning equipment, analyzing the molecular composition of various materials simply by touching them with her artificial foot. "The integration is seamless," Elena explained as Zara 9 continued her demonstration. "Neural response time actually exceeds biological reflexes. Sensory input provides enhanced environmental awareness, and the modular design allows for continuous upgrades and improvements." An elderly ethereal delegate spoke first. his crystalline form resonating with harmonic frequencies that the translator rendered as skeptical inquiry. This technology appears impressive, but what of the psychological impact? How does one cope with becoming partially artificial? Zara 9 stepped forward to answer personally. Honored Ethereal, I have not become partially artificial. I have become enhanced. My cybernetic leg does not diminish my identity. It expands my capabilities. I am more myself than I was before the injury, not less. A Goliath engineer raised a massive mechanical arm. The technical specifications are intriguing, but what about reliability? Biological systems heal and adapt. How do you address component failure in cybernetic augmentation? Elena smiled confidently. The quantum neural bridges actually improve over time as they learn the user's specific movement patterns and preferences. And unlike biological systems, cybernetic components can be upgraded, repaired, or replaced without months of recovery time. The questions continued for nearly 2 hours, covering everything from manufacturing costs to cultural implications. Elena answered each inquiry with growing confidence, supported by 3 months of detailed performance data from Zara 9's daily activities. But the real breakthrough came when Dr. Varix IV, the Catherian surgeon who had initially opposed the procedure, stood to address the assembly. I must confess that I was skeptical of this human's proposal, he admitted, his mandibles clicking with what Elena now recognized as grudging respect. In our culture, artificial augmentation was viewed as admission of biological inferiority. But I have observed the patient for 3 months, and I cannot deny the evidence before us. He activated his own holographic display, showing detailed medical scans and performance metrics. Not only has the integration exceeded all projected parameters, but the enhanced capabilities have actually improved the patient's overall physical performance. Her research productivity has increased by 40%. Her accident rate during fieldwork has dropped to 0. Most remarkably, her social status within our scientific community has risen rather than fallen. The implications of this statement sent shockwaves through the Catherian delegation. If their own species was beginning to view cybernetic augmentation as enhancement rather than disfigurement, it represented a fundamental shift in galactic attitudes toward human technology. We are prepared to propose a comprehensive research partnership, Dr. Varix IV continued, to explore the applications of human cybernetic technology for Catherian physiology. Furthermore, we believe this technology could benefit every species represented in this assembly. The session that followed was unlike anything the Galactic Scientific Council had ever experienced. Representatives from dozens of species lined up to propose collaboration agreements with Elena's research team. The crystalline ethereals were interested in cybernetic interfaces that could enhance their natural harmonic resonance abilities. The aquatic depth dwellers wanted to explore augmentations that could allow survival in hostile atmospheric conditions. Most surprising of all, several species that were considered technologically superior to humans began proposing joint ventures to combine their advanced materials science with human integration techniques. Your approach to biointegration is unlike anything we have encountered, admitted senior researcher Quantum 7 of the Nexus Collective, a hive mind species known for their technological sophistication. We can create materials with properties that exceed any known substance, but we have never achieved such seamless merger of organic and artificial systems. Elena felt a surge of pride mixed with humility. Human medicine developed out of necessity. We learned to replace and repair because we couldn't regenerate, but in learning to overcome our limitations, we discovered principles that apply beyond human physiology. Over the following weeks, Elena found herself at the center of a technological revolution. Her research station became a hub of interspecies collaboration as scientists from across the galaxy worked together to develop cybernetic solutions for previously unsolvable medical challenges. The Goliath engineers contributed advanced servo systems that could interface with Elena's neural bridge technology. The ethereals provided quantum harmonic resonators that improved sensory feedback sensitivity. Even the reclusive void-touched shared their knowledge of dark matter manipulation for enhanced power systems. But perhaps the most significant development was the formation of what became known as the Enhancement Initiative. Unlike previous galactic research projects that focused on single species, this collaboration specifically aimed to develop technologies that could benefit all spacefaring civilizations. "We are witnessing the emergence of a new paradigm," Zara 9 observed as they worked late one evening on the latest round of improvements to her cybernetic leg. "Not replacement of biology with technology, but synthesis. Evolution through conscious choice rather than random mutation." Elena nodded, watching the readouts as they calibrated new sensory protocols. "And it's changing how other species view humanity. We're not the primitive newcomers anymore. We're the specialists in making impossible things work." The transformation was indeed remarkable. Within 6 months, human cybernetic specialists were being recruited by medical facilities throughout the galaxy. Elena's techniques were being adapted for dozens of different physiologies, each presenting unique challenges and opportunities. A depth dweller named Current Singer became the first of her species to receive air-breathing augmentations, allowing her to work directly with surface-dwelling researchers for the first time in her species' history. A group of elderly ethereals chose to enhance their crystalline structures with quantum amplifiers that restored their ability to achieve harmonic resonance after age-related degradation. Most remarkably, several young individuals from various species began choosing elective augmentation over their natural biology, viewing cybernetic enhancement as a form of personal evolution rather than medical necessity. "We have created something unprecedented," Elena reflected as she reviewed the latest reports from research centers across the galaxy. "A technology that doesn't just solve problems, it creates new possibilities." Zara 9, now serving as Elena's primary research partner and the galaxy's foremost advocate for cybernetic enhancement, had become something of a celebrity. Her speaking engagements at universities and research facilities were attended by thousands, and her research papers on the psychological and social implications of voluntary augmentation were required reading in xenopsychology courses. "I have become proof of concept," Zara 9 said with what Elena had learned to recognize as Cytherian humor. "Living demonstration that enhancement need not diminish identity, but can instead reveal potential we never knew we possessed." The final validation came when the Galactic Medical Authority officially endorsed Elena's cybernetic integration protocols as standard treatment options for traumatic injury recovery. The technology that had begun as an emergency solution for one injured alien had become the foundation for a new era of medical science. Standing in her laboratory overlooking the bustling research station, Elena watched as teams of human and alien scientists worked together on the next generation of enhancement technologies. The barriers between species were dissolving as they discovered that their differences in biology could become advantages when combined with human integration expertise. "From tragedy to technology to transformation," Elena murmured to herself, then smiled as Zara 9 approached with their latest test results. "The quantum resonance upgrades are performing beyond all expectations," Zara 9 reported. "I can now detect gravitational anomalies at the subatomic level. Yesterday's limitation has become today's superpower." Elena laughed, remembering their first meeting when Zara 9 had viewed human prosthetics as primitive compensation for biological inadequacy. Now, beings from the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy were lining up to benefit from human innovation. "Who would have thought," Elena said, "that humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization would be teaching everyone else how to become more than they ever imagined possible?" As if in response to her words, the communication system announced the arrival of another delegation seeking collaboration agreements. This time it was representatives from the legendary Ascended Consciousness, a species so advanced They rarely acknowledged the existence of younger civilizations. Elena grinned as she prepared to meet with beings who had transcended physical form millennia ago, but were now interested in her work on consciousness transfer to cybernetic substrates. It seemed there was no limit to how far human ingenuity could reach when applied with determination and an open mind. The tragedy that had brought them together had indeed become the foundation for technology that was transforming the galaxy. And at the heart of it all was a simple human truth. When you can't be perfect, you learn to be better.